Hey guys, this is Ganesh Pujari and welcome to my new series on Law of Taxation. Now, if you are my old student, you know my teaching method. You need not to keep any pen or notes because mine is a PPT presentation and through this presentation I am giving the entire notes. So if you are a old student, nothing to worry. If you are a new student, keep all your pen and notes aside and whenever you feel you need notes, just take screenshot. In this first presentation, I am going to explain the meaning, definition, characteristics, purpose or objective whatsoever on tax. With that brief introduction, let me get into the first slide with meaning of tax. To explain the meaning of tax, I have brought four different perceptions. The first being the dictionary meaning, second being which is covering the purpose of tax, third being the different names that is available for tax, and fourth, one of the biggest principle for tax, that is no quid pro quo. Let us try understand one by one. What is the dictionary meaning? Dictionary says a compulsory contribution to state revenue levied by the government on income and business profits or added to the cost of some goods, services and transactions. So in the first meaning itself, you can see direct and indirect taxes, and it is given by whom? It is levied by the government on what? Income or business profits, and on the other side goods and services and transactions. Though this is a compulsory contribution, so with that it covers almost all the aspect of tax. Now, what is the purpose of tax? Taxes are enforced proportional contributions from persons and property levied by the lawmaking body of the state by virtue of its sovereignty for the support of the government and the public needs. So what is the purpose? It is for the support of the government and all public needs. Now, there are few important aspects you need to remember here. This is given by whom? This is given by the law-making body. They are also using the term sovereignty. By that way, this is giving power to the sovereignty to declare any amount of tax to the citizens, and it is proportional contribution. It is not like whatever I wish I will charge. It is proportional contribution from persons and it is properly levied. So that way it is also covering a lot of aspects. Third one, which covers lot of names which is available for tax, and the meaning. Tax is any contribution imposed by the government upon individuals for the use and services of the state, whether under the name of toll, tribute, impost, duty, custom, excise, subsidy, aid, supply or other name. So there are different names that is available. Along with that, it is also saying that it is a contribution imposed by the government on whom? On individuals. On what? Services and the users. Now, the fourth one is very important aspect. Maybe I will cover an independent video on this particular aspect, that is no quid pro quo. That is, you will not get something in return when you pay tax. Tax is a compulsory payment to the government by the subject without expectations of definite return or benefit to the taxpayer. That means by paying tax, you are not going to get something return in immediately or exactly for the amount that you have paid. That is one thing you need to remember. For that, I am going to give a lot of case laws when I am discussing tax and fines in an independent presentation. Now, it is a compulsory levy under certain conditions and it is meant for the general purpose of the state. It is a charge on person's income or property. These are the different aspects you can remember while you explain the meaning of tax. Now, I hope that is sufficient content to give an introduction. With that, I am moving to the definition part. While you are studying law of taxation, one thing that you should remember is name of Adam Smith and his book Wealth of Nation, because for all the questions in introduction part you can definitely bring in Adam Smith with Wealth of Nation, because he is father of economics and tax is one of the major aspect of economics. So what does Adam Smith has to say about tax? He says the taxes which it is intended should fall indifferently upon every different species of revenue as capital taxes and taxes upon consumable commodities. So he brings two important aspects. One, he says it is different for each person. Second one, on what taxes are paid, like revenue, capital taxes and taxes upon consumable commodities. These must be paid indifferently from whatever revenue the contributions may process, from the rent of their land, from the profit of their stock or from the wages of their labor. As you remember, Adam Smith had four different aspects of economic, that is land, labor, capital and organization. So he is trying to cover that aspect in the definition on tax also. That is the biggest or the most important definition you can remember. Second one is coming from Dalton, who says A tax is a compulsory contribution, so it is not an optional thing. It is a compulsory contribution imposed by public authority. So who is imposing? It is imposed by public authority irrespective of the exact amount of the service rendered to the taxpayer in return, and not imposed as penalty of any legal offense. So last part, he's bringing two important things. One, there is no guarantee of quid pro quo. That means I have paid this much, so I need to get this much in return. That is not available. Second one, it is not imposed as penalty. It is not a fine. It is an independent thing based on the exact amount that you are paying because of the public authority's fixation. So these are the things you need to remember when you are defining Dalton. The third one, which is the most easiest and you should write in your exam, is J. Holmes. It is not Sherlock Holmes, it is J. Holmes. Remember his definition. He says taxes are the price of civilization. I don't think anybody can forget without they decide that I will forget this. If you want to remember this, this is the most easiest definition, and you can refer this anywhere and everywhere when you are writing taxation law, which says taxes are the price of civilization. If there was no civilization, there was no need to pay tax, because we are living in a civilized society. We need good roads, we need all good things, like we are living in a welfare state. When we are living in welfare state, definitely welfare comes with a price, and he says it is price of civilization. Seligman says tax is a compulsory contribution from a person to the government to defray the expenses incurred in the common interest of all without special reference to special benefits to the conferred. So he brings three important aspects. One, it is a compulsory contribution. Second one, he says it is paid for the common interest. Third one, there is no quid pro quo. The last part I am bringing in section 243 of Income Tax 1961. Tax in relation to the assessment year commencing on the first day of April 1965 and any subsequent assessment year means income tax chargeable under the provisions of this act, and in relation to any other assessment year, income tax and super tax consumable under the provisions of this act prior to the aforesaid date. Now, is this a definition? I will not answer that, but I hope Adam Smith, Dalton, J. Holmes and Seligman has given a beautiful perception on taxation. And if you can remember the aspects which they have mentioned here, mentioned in their definition, the major aspects, and if you can elaborate it, nothing like that, you are going to score. With that, I am moving to the last part of this presentation, which is characteristics, features, purpose, objective, whatever way you want to name it, you can name it, but then you have to craft your answers accordingly. Let's move to the last slide. I will call this slide as magic slide, because this is a slide which will help you to write any answer on taxation, because you can bring this point here and there in every answer that you are going to craft in the taxation law exams. Now, I have named it as characteristics, but you can name it as purpose, objective or whatsoever, but only thing you need to tweak it here and there to make it align to the question accordingly. Now, I have brought 13 important points. It is not the exhaustive list, but I thought these are the important aspects. First one, it is imposed by government only. Not every XYZ can levy tax. It is imposed by government only. Second one, it is a compulsory contribution made to the government. There is no option that I am in a good mood, I'll pay, and no, I cannot pay because I am not in good mood. No, that is not available. It is a compulsory contribution that one has to make. Third one, taxes are collected, and aim of tax and purpose is for the common interest or the public purpose or welfare of the community or public revenue. So whatever name you want to name it, you can name it. It is collected for those purpose. It is collected for common interest, for public purpose or welfare of the community, or it is a public revenue. Now, taxes are legally enforced. Remember, there is Article 264 to 291 which are covering the financial relationship between state and central. And one of the most important article when it comes to Indian Constitution that you need to remember or you must remember is Article 265, which says no tax without law. So Article 265 is the heart for the law of taxation, so you should not forget it. Now, fifth point is taxes are proportionate, payment based on the ability or your earning or your expenditure or the resources that you are having. It is not fixed like A is going to pay 50, B is going to pay 100 and C is going to pay null. No, it is based on the ability that you are earning every year or expenditure that you are making or the resources that you are having. So it is proportionate based on your ability. Sixth one, it has territorial limitations. It may be limited to state or it may be limited to center or it may be limited to local, but it will not go outside India. So that is the territorial limitations. When I say it is not going to outside India, there are excise duties which we are putting, which I am going to explain in my future presentations. Nothing to worry on that. 7 point, power to tax is the authority of a particular legislative authority. Now we have CBDT, CBIT or CBIC, which is Central Board of Direct Taxes, Central Board of Indirect Taxes, or Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, whatsoever that I am going to explain in my future videos. So this is one of the important aspects. You need to remember that there are independent authority to put tax. So you need to remember those are legislative authorities. Now, eighth one, paid on intervals or incidents. Like for indirect taxes are based paid on the base of that you are making expenses or using services. So it is based on the intervals or incidences. Now, tax has an element of sacrifice. Yeah, we feel bad when we are paying tax, but you need to remember that for the benefit of all, for the security of the nations, or for the revenue of the country, we need to make that sacrifice. So this is having an element of sacrifice, and feel proud for that particular sacrifice. And tax is a personal obligation. You cannot shift tax from one person to another person. I'm going to explain this concept in detail when I'm discussing on tax and fees. Now, tax has an element of force. You cannot escape from tax, and you try escape from tax, you will be in mess. Never try do that, because it has an element of support from the parliament or legislature. You have to pay the tax. That is the rule of the nation. One should not try avoid taxes. Now, no quid pro quo between taxpayer and tax collecting authority. Now, quid pro quo, you need to remember while you are studying taxation, because that's one of the biggest principle when it comes to law of taxation. There is no quid pro quo. That means you pay tax. Imagine you paid 1 lakh rupees. You cannot expect 1 lakh rupees back from the government because you paid 1 lakh rupees. It will be used for the public purposes or common interest, as I explained in my feature number 3. So it is common for all, collected by some person based on the rules. Now, it is mostly paid in cash. This is the last thing I wanted to mention in my presentation. Hope that is a big list which will help you to understand the concept of tax, and then characteristics or features or purpose or objective, whatsoever name you want to name it. And I hope this gives sufficient notes for your exam. I hope that was a very easy presentation, but remember, when it is too easy, it is too difficult to score. So what you need to do, one, you need to by heart the definitions given by Adam Smith, and one more like Holmes or someone. Second one, the characteristics, you need to have a lot of characteristics with you, or features with you, or purpose or objective with you. Third one, mention Article 265, which is heart of the taxation topic. So no tax without law. So these are the few important things which will give you little higher marks comparing to other. With that, I'm concluding my this class. Wait for my next class, which will be another interesting topic on tax. Thank you so much for watching me. I hope you have subscribed my channel. If not, this is your time for subscribing my channel. All the very best for your exams, and thank you so much for watching me.